Good evening, everybody. Welcome to episode 94 of the Below the Yellow Line podcast. I'm your host, Joe Laney Pavlon. I have Justin Hebert with us tonight. How's it going, Justin?
I'm good.
Good. You're not working today. Danny will join the podcast. He is experiencing a few technical difficulties, so we should have him on later in the show. Hopefully, we'll get that resolved, and he'll be on in no time. Racing is back in 2021, and I think we've seen a ton of action in the past weekend.
Yep, we have.
Let's just start off with the Chili Bowl Nationals in Tulsa, Oklahoma. 300-plus cars.
Yep.
And it came down to one driver and one driver only. It was Kyle Larson. How did Kyle win this time?
He started second, which was an advantage. He took the lead early after an early caution with Joe B. Miller. He crashed. Justin Grant led the first couple laps, and then he took his number 01 past Justin Grant and just pulled away, and then cautions came out. He kept staying in the lead, but it was a close call with 2 to go. Christopher Bell was challenging with 2 to go. He made a mistake by, in dirt cars, if you don't know what they do, if you push so hard and overcorrect a little bit, you're not good. It's hard to save it. And that's what he did. And when he did that, the car ended up flipping over, going into turn 3. Yeah, that put the end to his night. Almost.
Christopher Bell, going into the weekend, won 3 out of the last 4 Chili Bowl Nationals.
Yep.
And he was close to getting for tying Kevin Swindell on that list, but that was just not meant to be. Kyle Larson was so strong. You remember last year, Kyle Larson won almost everything on dirt tracks, except for the Chili Bowl Nationals when he went over 13 until last year when he finally broke through and scored the big win.
Yep.
This year, he looked like it's just another veteran getting it done, making everybody else look like the AI's in rookie mode and NASCAR game,
Yeah, like stuff like that. But Larson winning again was really good for Kyle Larson. It helps him to get some momentum going into the 2021 NASCAR season, which starts in less than a month.
Yeah, especially knowing Larson's situation going into the sponsor list.
Ooh. Yeah.
It's still HenryCars.com on the Cup car. For now, we'll have to see where this goes.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, Kyle Larson is the winner of the 2021 Chili Bowl Nationals in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Yep.
He put on a clinic. So let's run down the race results. So as we mentioned, Kyle Larson took the win. He started second, but the pole sitter, Justin Grant, finished second in the race. Grant had a good car, but it just seemed like the experience
of Kyle Larson.
The experience got the better of Justin Grant. Tanner Thorson, third.
Oh, yeah, Tanner Thorson actually started 11th, and he actually got into the A-main. He got in the A-main by running in the B-main. He won his B-main race, and he finished third, which was really good for Tanner Thorson.
Yes, fourth place went to Kenan McIntosh.
Yeah.
And fifth place went to Pittman.
Yep, Darren Pittman.
Chris Wyndham, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Brad Sweet, Spencer Basted, and Logan Seavey were your top 10.
Yeah.
So I'm going to bring in Danny to the conversation now that we have him on with the connection. So how do you rate Kyle Larson's performance in this year's Chili Bowl versus last year?
I think Kyle Larson's performance is definitely a 10 out of 10. Being that with the same duel to the finish with Christopher Bell, and unfortunately with Bell wrecking again. You know, I think he pulled it. I think he was able to pull it off. You know, even without a sponsor.
He had a sponsor, and it was
Mav
probably the
TV.
best sponsor to have, Mav TV. And Mav TV did the most selfless thing any network could do for such an event like the Chili Bowl Nationals, and let people watch it live, understanding that for free online.
Yeah,
Oh
that's
yeah,
how.
that's actually awesome.
Yeah,
To
that
even
was.
think about, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, that was awesome for the fans like me and Joseph. With we don't have Mav TV, so that was our only option, or going to find a stream that crashes or something like that. If that would have been a worse alternative.
Piracy. It used to be a crime. Okay, so let's go down the results further. Colbodine, who took the very last spot, started 24th, finished 11th. A very solid run for the Indianapolis native. 12th place went to Alex Bright. 13th place, Kobe Copeland. 14th place, let's talk about Christopher Bell. Christopher Bell out of the race with 2 laps to go. Christopher Bell over pushes the car before his sprint car flinged into a series of rolls. The driver walked away. The Oklahoma native had to wave goodbye to the fans outside of a wrecked car, just a few laps shy from nearly catching the lead. And many people like myself wonder, what would the finish look like if Bell had control of the, or, had just enough control to keep the car straight and not make a mistake towards the end? Would Bell catch Larson? And I don't think anyone knows.
I don't know, because it would have been a close finish, but it's just Larson might have just held off enough, because Larson had a good car. It's just, I don't know how it would have finished, because we can't go with a time machine and go back to that day and make sure that Bell didn't crash. Time machines don't exist yet. We don't have the technology to do that, so nobody will know. It could have been a close finish, or Larson could have pulled away.
Well, in the end, it went to Kyle Larson. Well, let's look down the results just a little more. So after Bell, lap down cars, Tyler Courtney in 15th, 16th place, the 2-time winner Rico Abreu.
Yeah,
had a struggling.
His car was not handling well, getting stuck 3 wide in the middle. He had a bad race. He got stuck in 3 wide situations, almost getting put in the wall. Just not a good night for Rico Abreu in the 97. Rowdy Energy, yes, Rowdy Energy was the sponsor on that car.
Does that mean we might see him race the Bristol Dirt Truck Series event in a few months from now? Who knows? Hey, Knoxville is up in the air. That's a standalone race.
Well, there's only one driver confirmed at KBM. Kyle Busch is confirmed for 5 races. Who's going to run other races for that 51 truck? We don't know yet. That's going to be determined. We don't know who's driving. Yeah, we don't even know who's driving Daytona for KBM in their 3rd truck, the 51. So we'll see.
Yeah, back to the dirt race results. So Blake Hahn, 17th. Kyle Cummins, Michael Kofoid, and Chase Johnson round out your top 20. Then Thomas Messero, 21st. Brady Bacon, Jake Newman, and Joe B. Miller were your final finishers from 20th from 17th to 24th.
Yeah.
Now, here's another question. This might be a little more serious one, but the Tulsa Expo Center did something that a lot of dirt tracks, especially since the summer part of the 2020 calendar year, when the pandemic in some states allowed, an open economy again. And depending where those places are, the legal requirements to wear a face mask or face protection and or social distance was really robbed, or not robbed, but just toned down. The enforcement of the such rules were lost as the months went on. The first race since the pandemic halted everything was actually in April, and everyone was wearing face masks. There was no fans, and they just ran a race in South Dakota, and then everything started coming back.
Yeah, like people say it's weird wearing face masks. Remember when NASCAR returned in May at Darlington? People were wearing face masks. They obeyed the rules, and it worked. Except it did work. It really worked. Like it helped. Like people say, nah, wearing masks is not. It should be illegal. Wearing masks, don't know people, but it's like it really helped. Like it worked. Like people wanted racing. Like a lot of fans were bored watching those iRacing races, which that got interesting. But it's like getting races back on the TV at a real racetrack, even with a mask or without a mask, like it's still at least there's racing.
Yes, well, the problem, of course, was controversial events like the Snowball Derby. We learned that the 2020 Snowball Derby brought this controversy of no face masks and social distancing. It almost looked like we were in a different year watching the Snowball Derby.
It's crazy.
But the Chili Bowl Nationals, the Tulsa Expo Center, and you have to really understand the Tulsa government made it clear in the state of Oklahoma that this event will cause cases.
Yep.
Knowing the numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whether we have 30, 40, or in this case 300 people travel plus fans, and we had packed crowds, but everybody seemed to be obeying by the rules to wear the face mask. Now, I didn't see so much social distancing, but who am I to judge? But in the end, the face mask procedures were set in stones, unlike most dirt events, and maybe for the fact that this was a major event.
Yeah.
And the city prepared for it. So I give them a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I give the fans a 10 out of 10. Except for that one, I think it was Monday or Tuesday, but he had the walk of shame and
ouch.
Twitter face mask. And, unfortunately, or yet fortunately, the camera's pointed at that fan from the feed of the heat events that night, and he was escorted out from the crowd, followed by applause.
Yep.
I haven't seen a fan escort in so long. It's that refreshing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's well.
You usually see that case in other sports like basketball or hockey or whatnot.
Yeah, I've seen NASCAR fans climb the fence at Richmond.
I've seen that before. We all seen that before.
It's like that fan that climbed the fence at Richmond in 2014. Like just climbing the fence like it's normal, but it's clearly not normal.
That fan brought out a caution.
Oh yeah!
Oh my god!
I remember that. They're like, there's a guy I remember there's a guy climbing the fence in turn 4, and then the security walked him out the track. Sometimes fans just do weird things, and that's one of them.
Well, so that's the Chili Bowl this year, and hopefully the entries might rise again. It didn't seem like the usual domestic entries that flew in from the local areas and nearby. They didn't seem to be affected by this, but I think the international drivers, especially from Australia, New Zealand, where they have a midget dirt track racing population over there.
Yeah, like one entry that was not that usually runs the Chili Bowl, Michael Pickens, he's from New Zealand. He was not in it because those restrictions, because they don't want COVID cases spreading over there, so it's like more tighter restrictions.
All right, and before we get into the sports car conversation, I'm Danny. I know you and I we were deep into this last week, but we'll move into that discussion in a little bit. First, for you fans of two wheels out there, what a thriller it was to watch AMA Supercross racing return on Saturday night.
Yeah, talk about the awesome finish in the end with Justin Borsche and Ken Roczen for the season opener at NRG Stadium in Houston. That was a very great race, to be honest with you. Will we see that? Will we see more of that in the near future? I think so. And also Ian Perez, if you're watching this, he's also a fan of two-wheel racing. I know that for sure. But yeah, that was a great finish. I was in between that and the Chili Bowl Nationals myself.
Right. So the final results of the first round. So we have as of January 18th, and I say that because the season could definitely change, knowing the current situation. This is the round 1 of 17. There are 17 rounds, but this is the first one for Houston Part 1. That same stadium will host rounds 2 and 3 later this week, but as of the first round, it was Justin Borsche running for gas. Second place was Honda rider Ken Roczen. Ken Roczen, second place. That sounds a little too common, unfortunately. Marvin Musquin, third for KTM. Kawasaki rider and Florida's own Adam Cincerillo finished just outside the podium. I was pulling for him towards the end, but he just could not catch Marvin Musquin. And Malcolm Stewart for Yamaha finished in the top 5. And so the point standings, of course, match the top 5. It's a one-race deal. And we'll get 2 races this upcoming weekend for Houston. And those will be your next few races for you Supercross fans out there. And there's your scoop.
Yeah.
All right, sports cars. The 2021 Dubai 24 Hours was the first of what is currently an 8-race calendar for the 2021 24H series for GT and TCE. Both GT and TCE divisions will run in the same schedule, unlike 2019. So they shared the track for the first of 8 races in the 2021 schedule for the Dubai 24 Hours, and we had a very interesting race.
Oh, absolutely. Talk about GXP Racing and their Porsche finishing first in their first ever Dubai 24 Hours in their hometown, in their home country.
Yes.
That's got to be an amazing feeling for that team.
And it's just unfortunate, the crowd wasn't there. But either way, I have to say, Dubai did a great job allowing this race to flow, allowing the travel restrictions to ease for this time of year, knowing that they have drivers, they have teams on the way, and thus the race there was. So the results of the race will go from class to class. We'll start with the top 5 in the GT3 Pro class. So this is the GT division. GT3 Pro class was your overall winners. And it was Julien. So as Danny mentioned, GPX Racing number 36 Porsche. Now Porsche is once again the all-time winningest manufacturer in the Dubai 24. I watched all 24 hours personally, but I can't believe GPX Racing pulled away the way they did, especially with the competition that was out there.
Well, absolutely. With the GPX, I thought they really had their work cut out for them, but they rose to the occasion and got the job done.
Maybe it was just the experts behind the wheel, and experts there at will. In fact, one of the drivers, 65 years of age, Alain Ferté from France.
Wow.
Mathieu Jaminet How about young Mathieu Jaminet, age 26, and age 21, Julien Andlauer, the two drivers for the Porsche factory team, and Axcil Jefferies, the Zimbabwean driver who is now in his first year as a Porsche factory member, and his very first start as Porsche's driver, drove the car to victory. He was the one who brought it home.
Yeah.
And UAE's own Frédéric Fatien completed the driving lineup. They completed a grand total of 600 laps flat. 600 laps flat. They finished ahead of everybody lap-wise. One lap over the second-place car.
Yep.
And with that, Porsche is now once again the all-time winningest team in the Dubai 24 with 6 wins. Mercedes tied last year with 5, but this year it's Porsche exclusive. And I think that record might change as the years go down. But that's only for time to tell.
Yeah.
In second place overall, in second place in the GT3 Pro class, was the number 31 Team WRT Audi with drivers Benjamin Gothe, Luis Maciels, Frank Bird, Kelvin van der Len, and Dries Van Tor, which I thought they were going to have a chance, but it just seemed like they came to life too little too late towards the end for car number 31. And third place, the car that was really the only challenge to the GPX Racing Porsche for most of the night hours, and that was the number 4 Mercedes AMG Team HRT Bilstein, the team owned by Hubert Hout himself, who drove the car with co-drivers Khaled Al-Kubasi, Patrick Assenheimer, Mauro Engel, and Ryan Ratcliffe. They finished with 599 laps, just like the 31 Team WRT Audi.
Yeah.
But they had a fuel strategy that was supposed to somewhat put them on the lead lap as the Porsche, hoping for a code 60, which did not happen. And that strategy was a strategy that GRT Grasser Racing Team did, which failed on their part and dropped them out of the podium, finishing 2 laps down. The number 63 GRT Grasser Racing Team Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo was spent mostly driven by returning Lamborghini factory driver and Italian himself, Mirko Bortolotti. After 1 year in Audi, Mirko left the factory program and returned to Lamborghini.
Yep.
With amateur drivers by his side, names such as Rick Breukers, Rolf Eichen, and Adrian Amstolz. So it was, I don't want to say anything against the other drivers, but the experience behind the wheel was somewhat lacking for that team.
Yeah, it's like you got to get experience. Like, you can't just, like, people think, oh, if I raced a race car, I would be, bam, winning races out of the gate. No, you got to learn. Like, those cars are not street cars that you drive. You don't see a Chevy Cavalier running, except if you want to race in the Champ Car Endurance Series, but these cars, race cars, are harder to drive than you think.
Yes, and
it takes a certain amount. It takes an elite amount of skill to be in a sports car.
Yeah.
Yes, and by the way, we will see that team race in the 24 Hours of Daytona this year with Mirko and Rolf. That 2 of the drivers that ran in the Dubai race. So, if you notice, there's a lack of teams running both the Dubai and Daytona 24, as of course money and travel and just the whole logistics this year is a major challenge.
Yeah.
But still, we got 52 cars that showed up. That is great.
Yeah, well, 51 actually raced. Last place, the 279, did not start the event.
Yeah.
They finished 52nd.
So let's mention the one more car in the GT3 Pro class that finished 5th overall, 7th overall, 5th in class, and that was the number 83 Racetivity Audi. Now, they had some experienced drivers themselves, like Emmanuel Collard, who is turning 50 this year. I can't believe Francois Prado, the businessman himself, who is somewhat of a driver on the side, Charles-Henri Samari, and Mathieu Vaxivière.
Yeah.
The all-French lineup had a struggling race, but still managed to finish in the top 10 overall. So I guess it's a win-win for them. Unfortunately, you have to be up in the running for all 24 hours.
Yeah.
Now into the next class, and that is the GT3 AM category, won by HRT, Mercedes-AMG Team HRT Abu Dhabi Racing number 5, with Khaled Al-Kubasi, Patrick Assenheimer, Nico Bastian, Valentin Pierberg, and Florian Scholz. They finished 5th overall in the race, 8 laps off the overall winning time. Now, the GT3 AM class cars actually had the same speed and capacity as the GT3 Pro, but for driver licensing reasons, the cars had their own class, but they still had capacity to win the overall, which of course was unlikely, but still a very good run for them. They nearly ran out. In fact, they did run out of fuel at one point, causing a code 60 early in the race.
Oh, yeah.
And they managed to recover after some other GT3 AM cars had problems, and finishing 4 laps behind them in class. And second in class was the number 34 Car Collection Motorsport Audi R8 with the Edelhoffs, Gustav and Max Elmar Grimm, Johannes Dr. Turnov, and Ingo Vogler. So number 34 finished second and 6th place overall. 3rd place was the other Car Collection Motorsport, number 88 with Milan Doncic, Kim Holmgaard, Martin Leckman, Tim Mueller, and Johannes Stengel, finishing even more laps off the pace, but still a double podium for Car Collection Motorsport. That's not a bad day.
Yeah.
4th place in class was the number 19 MP Motorsport Mercedes AMG GT3 with Daniel and Henrik de Jong, Bert de Heos, and Jaap van Langen. The all-Dutch team managed to finish 4th in class, 9th place overall, 23 laps from the overall winner, and 5th place in the GT3 AM class was the number 72 Inception Racing with Optimum Motorsport McLaren 720 SGT3. They finished 10th overall with drivers Ollie Milroy, Nick Moss, Joe Osborne, and Brendan Abre. But there is one team that really had the race in hand, and it was an all-American squad that unfortunately fell out of the race with mechanical problems after a spin, and that, of course, was CP Racing, owned by Charles Putman, where most of the drivers are over the age of 50, and they were leading in class for most of the race with Shane Lewis, Charles Putman in the Mercedes AMG GT3 Evo. Unfortunately, after 435 laps, the car failed and was a long drive out of the track in the middle of the night. That is not something any team likes to experience in a 24-hour race.
Yeah.
But hey, I'm just happy to see veteran American gentleman drivers still out there at their age, racing competitively and humbly at the same time.
Yeah.
So we covered the first 2 classes, GT3 Pro and GT3 AM. That leads us down to the single make class with the Porsche 991 Cup class. All cars running Porsche 991 GT3 Cup 2s. That was won by, ironically, car number 991. NKPP Racing by Bas Koten Racing. Car finished 12th overall and 20 laps ahead of its highest competitor. And I was a little surprised by that, knowing that it was a big class.
Wow, just pulling away 20 laps. Oh my.
Yes, congratulations to drivers Marcel Van Berlo, Harry Helders, Bob Heber, and Gilles Bessem. They brought the Netherlands another successful Dubai 24 effort. Finishing second in that class was the number 909 Duo Racing team, a team based from Luxembourg, with drivers Dylan Pereira, Stanislav Sidoruk, Sergei Pedreguev, and Andrei Merkovas. So they finished, as I said, literally 20 laps behind. It shows you that all 24 hours count, and one mistake early in the race can make a major difference.
Yeah.
Third place in the 991 class was the number 989 MRS GT Racing Porsche. They rounded out the podium. Fourth place was the number 924 Nebulas Racing by Hubert, and fifth place in class was the number 978 Speed Lover. And lastly, the custom GT class for customized GT cars, the GTX class.
Yep.
Won by the number 710 Liebert Motorsport Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo Evo, finishing 13th overall, with the drivers Gerhard Watzinger, Kurt Thiel, Fidel Lieb, Oscar Lee, and Greg Gorski. Car 710 finished position number 1 in class. There were only 4 cars in the class this year, finishing in second in the GTX class. Was the most unique car, I think, in the category. Without a doubt, it was the number 701 Vortex V8, which is a customized car with the Vortex 1.0 GTX, a customized car with drivers Karen Gallard, Alban Verrucci, Philippe Bonnell, and Lionel Amochi. They drove the cars. Or they drove the car. It was an alien car too. I noticed around towards the end of the race, they kept making stops in the garage so they could finish the race, not lose that podium spot. And guess what? They made it to the end, and Vortex was classified. And hopefully we get to see more teams that have custom-made cars.
Yeah.
Like that. It shows variety in the sport. Third place was the number 707 ARC Bratislava with the Slovakian team driving a Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo 2017 model edition. After 441 laps, they did finish out of the race, but completed most of the distance, so they did get the podium position with Justas Jonsuis, Miro, and Mato Konopka, Zdeno Mikusalgo, and Thomas Padovani, the Estonian driver. So we had 3 Slovaks, 1 Estonian, and 1 driver from Lithuania, bringing that car third place and leaving one last GTX, and that was the GT3 Poland machine, a Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo Evo, finished 39th overall, completing 431 laps. And lastly, for the GT division is the GT4 class, which only featured 5 cars this year, but nonetheless was another dominating class, and this went to Samantha Tan Racing, ST Racing number 438, finishing 15th overall, the 438 BMW M4 GT4. Owner-driver Samantha Tan, with her co-drivers Nick Whitmer, John Miller, and Chandler Hull, completing 546 laps, 3 laps ahead of the 401 Pro Sport Performance AMR Aston Martin Vantage GT4, with drivers Stefan Lemaire, Rodrigue Gielan, Patrick Matheson, Constantine Scholl, and Nico Verdonk behind the wheel. Just a great effort by a North American team being able to win in that category, with the GT4s being very lacking this year. You usually see more GT4s, but nonetheless, it was a good battle towards the end.
Yeah.
Third place in the GT4 class was the number 488 Dragon Racing Mercedes. And I thought these guys were going to be pretty good, especially when drivers such as Adam Christodoulou and Ollie Hancock were in the wheel. But they had problems. John Hartstrom and Dennis Remenyenko were amongst bad luck. And that luck was just unfortunate for them because they did not recover in time to be a factor in the race.
Yeah.
Fourth place and fifth place in class were the 452 Team Avia Sorg Rennsport BMW M4 GT4, and fifth place was the number 491 3Y Technology BMW M4 GT4.
491. It was 451.
451.
Yeah.
So there's that with the GT division. Now we'll go ahead and look at the touring car side of the race. The TCE division featured two classes: the TCR class with the FIA TCR regulations, and the TCX class for custom touring cars in the race. We'll start with the TCR class. Danny, sounds like you have a dryer going on or something.
Was that?
It sounds like you have a laundry machine on in the background.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's my fan. That's my fan.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
Yeah.
So the TCR class was finished by the 17th overall finisher in the race. Car number 131. I didn't expect this, but nonetheless, they ended up winning the race. Top Car Sport. Cupra Leon TCR number 131, finishing 17th overall, wins the TCE division overall and the TCR class. Drivers Patrick Singh, Benjamin Luchter, Adrian Spezia, Ronnie Yost, and Fabian Downs were behind the wheel of the Swiss team, which they completed 543 laps, one lap ahead of what I thought was going to win the race. Was one of the Autorama Motorsport by Wolf Power Racing Volkswagen Golfs, but the number 112, I had the one winning that division, but the 112 seemed to be the least unfortunate car in that. Nonetheless, they did get podium positions, but knowing Autorama Motorsport, second and third place is not a win for them.
Yeah.
So yeah, drivers in that 112 car, Nicholas Born, Kari-Pekka Laskonen. Let's just see Kari run again at the age of 53. Yannick Mettler, Jasmine Pressig, and Gustavo Xavier were behind the wheel of that car. Third place was the sister car, number 1, Autorama Motorsport by Wolf Power Racing Volkswagen, with Konstantin Glexer, Emil Hederaho, Marlon Menden, Yannick Mettler, and Jerome Ogai. They completed 535 laps, 65 laps of the overall leader.
I was going to say completing 65 laps.
No, that wouldn't make sense because they'd be out of the race.
Yeah.
And then AC Motorsport Audis, they had problems in the race, but managed to finish 4th and 5th in the TCR class.
Yeah.
The AC Motorsport Audis number 188 and number 199, 4th and 5th respectively. So well done by those drivers. And lastly, the TCX class, the customizable touring car class, had a grand total of 6 cars in the race, 5 that started the race.
We apologize for the inconvenience right now. Joseph will be back on in a few minutes. Just be patient, everyone.
Yeah. Let me. I actually have the.
Okay, is my internet back?
Yes.
Yeah, you're back.
Yeah, Brandon's back. Let's go.
You're
Awesome.
not frozen this time like a couple seconds ago.
All right, back to what you were saying now, Joseph.
Yeah.
PK Car Sport ended up winning that class, and with the 208 BMW M2 Club Sport Racing, which is it's nice to see an M2 on the racetrack. I haven't seen one in years. Drivers Bert Longen, his son Stenis Longen, who races in the NASCAR Euro Series. Stingen Lauet and Peter Gwenlitz drove for the Belgian team PK Car Sport, winning in class. Second place was the CWS Engineering. All the CWS Engineering cars had problems. 278, we had Jean-Francois Brunel, Adam Hayes, Simon Oring, Michael Tickner, and Colin White. Colin White himself is the owner. He is 64 years old. And it was part of the ASCAR Racing Series, a former stock car division in Europe that was made in the mid-2000s, which is a discontinued series.
Oh.
Yeah, Colin White fielded 3 cars, 2 cars that were shipped on the same day as the race, as the Pulsinen car failed before warm-ups began. The engine failed. The other car finished or qualified second overall in the TCE division. In third place was the Fun M Motorsport number 302 BMW 240i Racing Cup car. Number 302 completed 486 laps. Fourth place was number 280 CWS Engineering Janetta. Fifth place for the 218 Sally Racing Sea Cupra DSG. Now that car was actually leading in class for most of the time before engine problems kicked in. And sixth place was the 279, the car that I just mentioned did not start the race.
Yeah.
So, if you heard from the podcast before, and if you've seen on social media that 24H Series and Creventic, they are organizing a 6-hour race, an exhibition race for teams that choose to stay. The entry list is small. We will discuss that in just a few moments before we go into the 24 Hours of Daytona and hold that conversation.
Well,
Then,
also, there's just want to say before that there was NASCAR released the practice times for Daytona. Interesting. Oh, well, yeah, I saw what their practice times are. It's not many practices like usual. It's 3 practice sessions. 3 practice sessions. Qualifying at 7 p.m. So they have practice 1, qualifying, then 2 practice sessions on Saturday, but they have a practice before qualifying on the Wednesday, and then they got the race, obviously. Trucks have 1 practice, 1 qualifying, and then the race. Same thing for the Xfinity, so it's going to be interesting. Just want to point that out.
Yeah.
Yep.
all right. Well, let's we'll have that. We'll hold that Daytona discussion in a few weeks from time. But as for the next points paying race for the 24H Series, that will be on the 26th and 27th of March for the Hankook 12 Hours of Mugello circuit, round 2 of 8 as it stands today. Now, hopefully, that will be the case when 2 months pass, depending on how Europe does their whole thing with lockdowns, because it seems like a day-to-day mood swing.
Yep.
But who is in the 6 Hours of Abu Dhabi?
Not many entries. We got there's 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 5 GT cars, one 991 car, so we already know who's gonna win that race. We have a TG class, which has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Wait, 2.
Those are cars that are different kind of cars. I mean, likewise, it is an exhibition race, so
there's 10 TG class cars. So most of the cars are TG cars. There's a couple of GT cars. There's only one 991 car, so that's that. What
a 991 car has won overall last year, so
we'll see. But we know they're gonna be they're gonna win their class. That 924 is gonna win their class because there's only one car in that class, which is that entry.
We'll make a few predictions. And let's see who will win.
Yeah.
Who will win in that category? So GT. Let's make it quick. Justin, who do you have winning the GT class?
In the GT class, my pick is the number 99 Attempto Racing entry, Audi R8 LMS GT3 Evo 2019, driven by Alex Aka, Finlay Hutchinson, and Marcus Winkelhock.
Marcus Winkelhock, yes, the one-off driver who was leading in his only Formula One Grand Prix start. Europe 2007. Now, here's the thing. It's hard to tell with these drivers because a lot of the drivers that you see that are not there are in Daytona or traveling to Daytona.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go ahead and predict that the winner of the G2 class I'm just going to have to go with what you said, the Attempto Racing 99 car Audi with Alex Aka, Finlay Hutchinson, Marcus Winkelhock. I mean, I can go off from where they've raced since I've watched them race in the past. Most of these drivers are amateur level, as you said. And the TG class, which looks like it seems like other categories are like meshed into one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who will win that category?
Okay, my pick is the number 438 ST Racing entry, BMW M4 GT4, driven by Samantha Tan, John Miller, and Chandler Hull.
Ooh, man. You know what? I'm going to make that same prediction as well.
How's that for a little Canadian luck? Unfortunately, with the TG class, I have to go by the cars that are fastest. If we're combining touring cars and TCRs and GT4s, that only means that I'm going to have to go with the GT4 ST Racing. Samantha Ten, John Miller, Chandler Hull, they'll get the job done in the BMW unless they just put I'm sure the categories they might want to realign, but hey, it's just an exhibition race.
Yeah, it's not
Yas Marina Circuit.
Yeah, it's not
Autodrome.
Yeah, it's not going to be it's not a race that you get points. It's basically like an all-star race, but it's not a NASCAR all-star race it's not that.
You have to understand some teams are unable to travel out of the country depending on the country they came from or going to go home from after the Dubai 24. So they offered this extra race for teams interested.
Yeah. Just as soon and I went out again. I bet you. Oh, jeez, that's...
Ladies and gentlemen, we apologize for the inconvenience again.
Yeah, so that's going to be an interesting exhibition race. The 6 hours.
You really think?
Okay, come on.
You're here. Yeah.
I'm here. I'm back alive.
You're here again.
Hey, your internet, when you froze, it was more like you were about to say something and it froze. I guess your internet's like, nope, not allowed to be on the podcast.
Internet is being
It's like
uncooperative.
very. I would say words that I cannot say on air.
It's like when your old mic that kept muting you.
Oof.
I remember that old mic.
Oh gosh.
Evil mic. Very evil. But yeah, I mentioned the classes are kind of disorganized, but then again, it is just an exhibition race, so I have to go with what's there. And it really, the teams who survived the race, they'll be there.
Yeah.
Like I said, some teams they can't just travel home right away. They have to follow certain procedures with traveling. So there's that.
Yeah.
And lastly, will a GT class car win the race overall, or can that 991 Porsche win overall? Is it possible?
You know what? I think the 991 Porsche can get the job done. They've been dominant. Well, they've been really good since last year. I think they could. I think the momentum can carry over to 2021 this year.
And why is that? That car won the 16 Hours of Hockenheimring last year overall. Now, mind you, of course, the 24-8 series was had a difficult season with comers and goers. No one really running for the championship, just running for the races that they could run last year. And it happened to be that they were just a lack of a very minute percentage of GT3s compared to the 991 Porsche. But either way, history was made for being the first overall winner to beat GT division cars. Well, now we're not in a class, a GT named class.
Yeah.
All right, so now we have that out of the way. Let's go ahead and discuss the upcoming 2021 Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona. We'll discuss facts about the race and all that cool stuff next weekend as race time. But this week is something new.
Yeah.
The Roar before the 24, usually scheduled for 2 weeks before the Rolex, is just a testing session for teams available to show up. But it seems like IMSA and the Daytona International Speedway and the Daytona, the Daytona area must have made something clear during the off season that you're either in or you're out.
Yeah.
We're going to make you guys show up by having this qualifying race 1 week before the Rolex 24, and we're going to push the Rolex 24 so that you guys have all the time to show up. And they made it clear these teams were in off the bat.
Oh, yeah. Which, when I saw this entry list last week, 50 cars in this. At first glance, when people first saw the entry list, people were like, why? There's no drivers in the cars. Updated today, there's a list of drivers in the cars. There's 7 DPIs, 10 LMP2s, 7 LMP3s, 6 BTLM, and 20 GTD cars entered.
So we'll go ahead and look at some of the entries and ones that we might pick out a little bit more in the next podcast. We don't want to spill the beans yet, but we can make a few predictions and analysis. So what's new with the Roar before the 24 this year? Well, it's now adjacent to the Rolex 24 itself, meaning that there's no gap in weeks between.
Yeah.
Teams are here, and you have a qualifying race. This is to ensure teams showing up for the Roar before the 24. We went from 37 cars overall, a record low entry list last year,
to 50.
Cars, and
but
immense numbers.
I know that people are like, why can't we have the 55 from the 55th Rolex 24 in 2017? That was because there was 55 cars, because one of the reasons was 55th Rolex 24.
They intentionally made it cheaper so that they had 55 cars.
Yeah, I remember that one.
There's no car cap in IMSA, just saying.
True.
Yeah, I remember that 2017 Rolex 24. Jeff Gordon was in the Cadillac number 10, and he won. That's one thing I remember about that
That's
race.
special.
And he also won that race.
Yep. Yeah, it's like the Rolex 24. If people don't know, it's a really one of the highest. Like people
It's a
say,
crown. Let's
It's a
just call
crown
it.
jewel.
It's a
yeah,
crown jewel. It's a crown
yeah,
jewel in motorsport.
and people say the crown jewel, like there's a trio of crown jewel endurance races: Sebring 12 Hours, Le Mans 24, and Daytona 24. Those three, those
Yeah.
are really like Rolex 24. Like I remember, I didn't watch it much as a kid because I didn't know too much about that. 2016, that's when I started watching more of it, but not on TV, on the website. When 2017, I knew it was coming up, so me and my friend watched the whole 24 hours. Like, it's a great event. People say, "Oh, endurance racing is boring. I like super speedway racing." Like, it's a great event, really good event.
I agree with you. Sports car racing is something. There's something beautiful with it. I mean,
Yeah.
there's just nothing but pure racing. There's a clock. There's cars of all kinds. There are multiple races happening at once, sometimes for different honors, and just there's a lot on the line. You have drivers from all over the globe
Yeah.
with all kinds of backgrounds, and you have a race.
Yep.
And that's what makes the race so special. And I think this year will be no exception to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because like IMSA cars, like the cars are different. Like all classes of cars are different. Like you have the DPIs is the fastest class.
Yeah.
Then you got the LMP2s. Then after the LMP2s, you got the LMP3, which is
A new edition.
Yeah, for this year. Then you got the GTLM cars, the GT Le Mans cars, which is the Corvette, BMW, now Ferrari. And then you got the GT Daytona cars.
Which are Lamborghini.
GT3s.
Yeah, Lexus, those.
Yes.
Porsches. Yeah,
And
like,
Porsche.
the variety's just huge.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
we'll look at some predictions. As mentioned, there is a 100-minute qualifying race, and it's Sunday, correct?
Yes, it is Sunday.
Sunday.
If people are like, how can I watch? It's live on Track Pass. NBCSN will have it on tape delay, like an hour after.
Piracy.
Yeah, well, we'll
Piracy.
probably
That's what we're doing.
we'll probably find a Twitch stream. People on Twitch are nice. They stream races.
They're nice.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's on us not to give it away.
Oh,
Exactly.
well, at least it's
If we give it away,
well, at least
they go away.
at
Or
Yeah.
they get taken away by.
well, we don't stream it on YouTube. That's one thing.
Yeah.
Streaming on YouTube for racing is not a good
Instant
idea.
ban.
Or get a VPN and be
Well-
tech savvy and do it yourself.
That's true.
Because we are geo-blocked from IMSA
TV.
TV World Feed coverage.
Canada and New Zealand are also banned. I don't know why New Zealand and Canada are banned too. Blackout. Yeah.
I can't watch a Florida Panthers game on NHL center ice because I live in the regional zone. I get a blackout.
Well, I get a blackout for in NHL, I get a blackout for the Winnipeg Jets and the Toronto Maple Leafs, but I get the Senators game and the Canadians game.
Well, who likes the Maple Leafs anyways?
That's true.
Yeah, I know this isn't below the blue line podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll make a few predictions on the. We'll just make one prediction. 100 minute for the qualifying race, which means, and I hear that 2 drivers have to drive the car. So there may be more drivers that are not going to be in the race, but we know that teams have to be there.
Yeah, because I'm looking through the teams. For if people don't know, who are the teams entered? DPI, we have 7 teams. We have the Cadillac Chip
We'll go
Ganassi.
for rear next week on that.
Well, you got Cadillac Chip Ganassi,
Yeah.
JDC, Miller Motorsports. Then you got the Canoka Minolta Acura. Yes, they switched to Acura. Whalen Engineering Racing. Then the Ally Cadillac Racing, Mazda Motorsports, and Meyer Shank. Those are DPIs. Just looking through LMP2, 10 entries. No, it's not just 2 entries, or 1 entry.
We have a broad LMP2 class this year. I think we're gonna have a blast. And
Yeah.
I'm surprised, Christopher Mies, he's gonna make his prototype debut. Christopher Mies, the car 82 for Dragon Speed.
Yeah, Dragon Speed actually has 2 cars this time. Towers entered, Win Autosport Era, High Class Racing Team Netherlands, Rick Ware Racing Eurasia, PR1 Matheson, who won the overall LMP2 title. They
and the Endurance Cup.
Yeah.
This is if the schedule stays the same as of the 18th of January, this will be round 1 of 12 and Endurance round 1 of 4.
Yeah.
For the actual race itself.
Yeah, LMP3, the new category, new class in the WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. We have 7 entries. We have Molnar Motorsports America number 6. Then you got the 47 Motorsports number 7. Sean Creech Motorsport number 33. Performance Tech Motorsports. Remember them. They were in the LMP2 class last year. Now they're in the LMP3 class. Core Autosport is back in an LMP3. And Riley Motorsports have moved from the GT D class to the LMP3. They have an LMP3 car.
And it's a very cheap class too, which makes it for a good presence in the series, adding to the list of overall cars.
Yeah. Okay. GTLM 6 entries. You got 2 Corvettes.
Yeah.
2 BMWs. Then you got the Risi Competizione Ferrari and the WeatherTech Racing Porsche. And so 6 cars in there, but the GTD class, 20 entries.
Yes, the most competitive class, most likely of the race. Because you have 20 GT3s out there.
Yeah.
All kinds of experience.
Yeah, looking through, you got Paul Miller Racing's number 1 Lamborghini. You got Pfaff Motorsports Porsches, both Vassar Sullivan Lexuses, Wright Motorsports Porsche, GRT Grasser's Lamborghini, AF Corsa's Ferrari, Hearth of Racing Team Aston, the Allegra Motorsports at Mercedes. What else? NT Sport Audi, Magnus Racing Acura, Windward's Mercedes, Scuderia Corsa Ferrari, Team TGM Porsche, Sun Energy One Racing, number 75 Mercedes, Team Hardpoint EBM Porsche, Turner Motorsports BMW, TF Sports Aston, number 111 GRT Grasser Racing Lamborghini, and the 540 Black Swan Racing Porsche. What? Whoa. No. Jeez. So it's going to be... Oh, Joseph. Okay, so it's going to be an interesting 100-minute qualifying, which probably the fastest will be a DPI. They're just way faster than LMP2. Yeah, so IMSA guys, you gotta, if you want, so 100-minute qualifying, it's gonna be an interesting format for this year.
Yeah, what do you think?
I feel like it's gonna be a interesting format, and it's gonna be interesting with this 100-minute session.
Yeah, I'd have to say the same as well.
Yeah, I
You know,
was
with the
reading.
new format,
Yeah,
I really want to see who comes out on top.
yeah. Because I actually was just finishing reading all those entries. We have 20 in that in the GTD class with just looking through all these teams. It's like so many just decide to be there, like enter it. Like that's really good. Like that is
I'm back. I don't know why my internet wants to pick fights with me tonight, but I'm gonna fight it back.
Yeah, but but so interesting just looking through how many GTD manufacturers there are. Lamborghini, Porsche, Lexus. Just it's
The one interesting thing I noticed that the Audis are going to that have lacked this year. So that's maybe the reason why Christopher Mies is going to drive an LMP2 for the first time in his career.
yeah.
And speaking of Audi, a longtime Audi manufacturer, WRT, they've won the 24 Hours of Nürburgring, the Spa 24, the Zolder 24, and other big races. They are going to attempt an LMP2 program and attempt for the 2021 Le Mans 24 Hours this June. So think about that. I think we're running pretty low on time here. I'd like to keep this podcast going, but enjoy these exhibition sports car races.
Oh my gosh. Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa. Hey, just breaking news I heard. Haley Deegan's number won't be 17. She will be driving the number 1. They renumbered the 17 to the 1. So
I mean, let's just be fair. She's in sensitivity training, as I mentioned in the podcast last week.
Yeah.
Her behavior better be number 1, or else
that's not going to go well.
Yeah, that's not going to go well.
Or someone else might be driving number 1.
Yep.
Dylan hey, Joseph, your favorite driver, Dylan Lupton. Well, Dylan Lupton did do well in his starts at DGR when he I remember those races he ran and you're like, oh, he's not going to do good. Gets a top 5 in his first start.
Mm-hmm. It was funny. Natalie Decker was driving for the team at the time, and she just couldn't drive for the love of God. And I'm like, okay, if you can go worse than Natalie Decker, just hire Dylan Lupton. Then he proved me wrong. A top 5 in debut.
Yeah, so Dylan Lupton.
I said that on the podcast last year.
Yeah, put him in the truck, and he actually got a top 5 in his first truck start for DGR Crosley.
Hey, if he returns, I want to see him run a full ARCA season. He might be a factor. But speaking of ARCA, we had testing, and what is it with DGR drivers? Taylor Gray. Snapchatting while driving. He's going 180 miles an hour. You just click, look at me.
Oh, come on, dude. Yeah, that's a death wish right there,
he's
buddy.
15 years old. He shouldn't even be on the racetrack at that age.
Exactly.
Daytona Speedway.
Well, it's like,
but I guess.
I guess, like it's just people. It's like, ARCA testing was so interesting when Derek Lancaster was fastest in day 1 of testing. Corey Heim was at least Corey Heim was fastest in day 2, which is more real than Derek Lancaster being fastest in day 1 of testing.
Mm-hmm.
Which,
yeah, as much as I'd like to keep this podcast going due to internet connections, I think we need to cut this one short. But I do want to mention that this, I hope everyone spent today off. A lot of people were off work for Martin Luther King Day, and let's just highlight the reason why Martin Luther King meant just so much to the world. And we have to, be reminded. It's important to remind and reflect upon some of the hardest times for some people in this country and in the world who've experienced injustice and racism. and the civil rights movement was a huge deal for its time. Martin Luther King Jr. brought America close to each other.
Yeah, and there's this quote that says, "Judge not a man by the color of his skin, but by the content of his character." And that should, and I think that should be resoluted, or that quote should be practiced today, because a lot of people are judging one another by the color of their skin and seeing them as superior above the other, but instead of content of character, which what really should be looked at. And I think that content of character matters most when it comes to situations like injustice in this country or even around the world.
Absolutely. But yeah, it's just, I think it's a big deal. Look back, every MLK day, I take, 20, 30 minutes out of my life and just watch his speech on Capitol Hill. But yeah, like I said, the podcast, I'd like to continue, but my internet is just not cooperating. So I think this is a good stopping point. And thank you very much for joining Justin and Danny. We'll be back next week for episode 95.
Yep.
For my partners Daniel Ford, Justin Hebert, I'm Joe Laney Pallot signing off. Have a good one.